What's up guys, Anfield here. Welcome to the T57 third mark session finish video. Now all the replays from this video will be from the final session like normal, except for one, which will be from an earlier session. Usually I only play one session, but the 57 required me to play more than one on the stream. I really wanted to mark it on the stream, which is more difficult for me to do that, but it's more interesting for the viewers, I guess, to be a part of it, so to speak. So one replay is from another session. The reason for that is you can see the damage per game is quite good in this session, 4,400 almost, 69% win rate, but there's nothing outlandishly high in terms of damages, and I have had these T57 games be really super high because the tank is really capable of it, but I had to pull it from another session, so apologize for that. But nonetheless, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll try not to insult the T57 too much. It's just the gun handling tilted me so hard. Yeah, it was a struggle for real for me to do this tank. Also, you can see the credit loss is very extreme. That's because I fired quite a bit of heat in this tank. T57 AP isn't very good, and so yeah, and coupled with bad accuracy, it's kind of a recipe for disaster for a tank that's supposed to have very good DPM. You often lose a lot of that DPM because your tank is sending shots fuck knows where, and then you end up missing shots or bouncing shots because you can't hit weak points properly. So yeah, a lot of heat, and if that's going to upset you, probably not the best video for you. But otherwise, I hope the rest of you enjoy the video. Let's get started. So you can see here I'm on Live Oaks, and this first battle is pretty straightforward, so I thought I'd start off with this one. It's kind of an interesting battle because it's a very quick battle. It sort of ends kind of quickly. Now, you can see the enemy team is sort of set up with quite a lot of heavy firepower. There's a mouse there, a Type 5 heavy, and an E100. The teams are pretty balanced when it comes to medium firepower, except they have one more medium than us. To balance that, we have 2 tank destroyers, to their only 1 tank destroyer. So it's an interesting setup of matchmaker, but we don't have quite the brute force that they have in the city. But I'm not gonna go to the bridge, and the reason for that is, one, we're outnumbered by mediums by 1. I'm slow, kind of big, a very easy arty target, and they do have, unfortunately, an auto-loading batch shot arty, so not exactly something I particularly want to deal with over there. The mediums will have a nice time, but the T57 just far too slow. Otherwise I may have helped them push that, but I didn't want to risk it. So we don't exactly have a great deal of tanks going over here, so that's a bit of a problem. We do have a lot over on the bridge, so I've already made the calculation that we're gonna have to just be very defensive over here. This T10 is gonna have to follow me and not sit there, because if we don't hold this well enough, we might be overwhelmed too quickly. But the good thing about having a dominant force in this sort of medium dominated area is that you wipe that out generally a lot faster than heavy tanks would wipe out another group of heavy tanks that they're more of. So yeah, that's the one thing I'm banking on here, is we can be defensive in this town. I'm safe from artillery. I can just brawl and threaten people with my 1600 clip drum. So I'm going to go over here and just have a quick peek and see what I can see. T57 is generally faster than mice and the 100s and Type 5 heavies, so yeah, I'm just looking for what I can see. There's a mouse there, so I'm just going to take a quick shot. Was not able to connect, and the mouse was, I guess, a little bit lucky with that snap. He didn't have much time to aim that. 9.17, of course, the mouse gun handling will be even better, the DPM will be better, and have 3,200 hit points and more armor, so perhaps more threatening in the upcoming patch, but this is still 9.17, so a mouse is okay to deal with, and I can take that hit, and it's not the end of the world. Obviously, you never want to take those kind of pokes against tank destroyers, but a mouse is okay. It's 490 alpha, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to move up here, though, because, we have an E3 over here, and he's kind of going to soak up a lot of damage. Our mediums are doing not so well according to the team listing because they have a kill and we don't, but that's just because of artillery killing an M103, so it's not the end of the world. Obviously I have heat loaded here, and that's because everything I have is super armored. I was lucky to bounce that E100 there. It looks like he was probably firing AP. So I was fortunate to get a nice bounce there. T57 armor is okay. It's kind of got some steep angles, so it's a little bit weird because sometimes it feels like it works really nice, and other times it's just like, oh, I just got penned every time. So it really depends on the gun. 235 pen on E100 standard is not good enough. So C100 has been caught out here. He's way too exposed. That was kind of a fortunate shot. He didn't have a lot of hit points, and I think he's going to stop. So I'm just going to have a poke around here to see if I can get the final blow on him, which I'm able to. Fortunately, it meant that I got hit by the T57. Or, sorry, the Type 5 Heavy. 600 plus damage, not exactly ideal. That's half my hit points gone. So I can play a little bit more conservatively, or I have to play a little bit more conservatively because obviously I don't have a great deal of hit points to trade away. If an artillery just happens to be looking my way, it's going to be bad. But you should notice, of course, that, like I said, the 9-0 line has been taken by our superior medium force. It's always very quick to take that flank. So I'm just going to quickly get as much as I can. Get the M103 out. We've won this game. At this point, tactically, we would take one of the greatest throws ever for us to actually lose this game at this point. So it's more now about being able to get the damage out. The T57 does do this particularly well. A nice close quarter brawling situation is where the T57 really thrives. I saw the Batshot going back there, so I turned around to perhaps deal with that, but he's more interested in the T10. It's okay, I'm going to get some shots. The Batshot pulls forward, I think because he didn't quite realize where he was being shot from at the time. But obviously it's nice for me to get rid of him because it's another autoloader out of the game. Just have to be a little bit wary, but ultimately I have to get in the fight and get as much out of this as I can. So despite clipping, I'm moving towards any enemy tanks. But the TVP has other ideas. I'm going to try and turn the corner, but he's a little bit too fast in that sense, but was unable to cause any damage. He's got heat loaded, but he's not aiming his heat. So yeah, it's not bouncing. Or excuse me, it's bouncing instead of penning because he's just not aiming. So yeah, easy peasy. Thanks TVP. Real nice of him. I'm just gonna clip again and get ready for another shot worth on the mouse. Now, yeah, this is not like some amazing carry. I guess really I just wanted to highlight the positioning choices I made and why I decided to do what I did, and just to sort of highlight how overwhelming medium flanks generally push a lot faster than heavy flanks. So you've got a much better advantage there. This is a lot of bad fortune, and you can kind of see the problem with AP on this tank in that particular sense, but not a bad battle, a lot of damage farmed anyway. So next up is Siegfried Line Assault on defense. Now Siegfried Line is pretty cool, and one of the reasons I actually leave Assault and Encounter on a lot because it's really good for damage farming. Assault and Encounter on this map are really good if you know where to go in order to farm a lot of damage. The standard mode is also okay, but actually the Assault and the Encounter are the ones that you get a lot of damage out of. This is also really important because the T57 does struggle on a lot of maps, but the close quarter maps, like you saw Live Oaks, where you get to actually fight close to an enemy, is generally the maps where you do the best. And T57, especially marking the T57, is all about taking and exploiting the matches where the T57 gets to thrive. So not really super open maps where you have to snipe a lot and do other things like that and expose yourself because you're slow. But instead, those are the maps that the 50B really thrives at. But these close quarter combats, this is where the 57 really thrives, because its DPM is so good at close quarter, because you're gonna mostly land all your shots. You're reloaded really fast. So it's just really nice to be a 57. This little position here, generally there's like someone that pokes up here, so I just generally sit in this area and wait for said person to make a poke, and there he is. So WZ-120 doesn't have a lot of depression, has to come up quite far to hit me. He's got a lot of engineered depression at that slope, but still a little bit of a struggle because he doesn't have a lot of accuracy either. So I can trade usually pretty efficiently here. Just have to be careful here, keep looking at this Mutz in case he pulls forward. Not like he would do a lot of damage to me, but it could be a potential lot of damage to him that I could do. So it's worth taking a look at. Panther 2, I'm not really sure what he's doing. Yeah, he's rip. So I got actually a bit of assisted damage from spotting that Panther, so someone else was spotting him too. Perhaps the FV202 there. But yeah, this is kind of cool for me. I mean, there's one artillery and that kind of sucks, but otherwise this is really nice. Now, unfortunately for me, E100 was waiting there, and the FV4202 had not spotted him despite spotting the WZ-120. You can see I got lucky there. Now, if you go back and look, the VK was actually moving up, and I didn't look properly and see that he was moving up on my mini-map towards this road towards me, so I should have been much more prepared. But this is where I make the mistake, is because of like the distance I have to my pillars compared to his distance to his pillars, it makes it very difficult for me to shield myself properly, whereas he can shield himself much more adequately. You can see it looks like I'm blocked, but I'm not really, due to how the angles work here, so that was slightly unfortunate. But yeah, it's not a good start. You can see I've taken 2 hits completely unnecessarily. What I should have done is backed up and clipped and reapproached from a different way. But instead I tried to make it work anyway, and it's just not a good idea. It's 1,000 damage that I didn't need to lose, or hit points I didn't need to lose. So yeah, you can see I'm not on a lot of hit points. The VK is getting punished, thankfully, but you know, it sucks for me because I'm not on a lot of hit points. It's really early stages of the battle still. And then T49 doing, you know, pubby things where they think, ooh, Unicum that I can kill, and you know, fortunately he was not able to be successful. Really do hate those things, you know. Look at me zip around with my big alpha HE gun that I shouldn't have. Oh well, let's just add a tier 10 version of that. Anyway, so I'm just moving around looking to see if there's any shots, but I have to be extraordinarily careful now because I'm definitely a one-shot for almost everything on the enemy team here, so I have to be very careful. Just checking for the WZ, but I see this T10, excuse me, not T10, 110 out there in the field, and I say yes, thank you very much. So, nice shots there. WZ coming back up, a little unlucky. But you can see I've got a decent shot, and he has to come quite far up to really do anything about it. So, but he goes down anyway, so I'm just gonna clip now. Yeah, I mean, at this point, the battle's sort of heavily in our favor. We have 7 kills and they have none. So, yeah, we're doing okay. We have map control of the north and we have a surround coming on in the south as well. So they're now, like, sort of conjugated into this middle area, which is good. I can just get over to this building and get some shots. Notice that the Grill 15 wasn't looking this way, and, yeah, T54A1 is pulling in front of me. Oops, I mean, I don't know. Pull in front of an autoloader. I mean, he knows I'm an autoloader, so I don't really know what that was about, but I guess people are just very greedy. So the reason I took those shots was because I was confident that I could get the shots and the T54A1 would struggle. Maybe a bit greedy, you know, it could have gone very wrong, but I was confident I could get the shots before he could do anything to me, so it worked out in the end, at the very least, you could say, I guess. But you can see it's 10-0 now, because this is a lot of World of Tanks at the moment. It's a lot of team wipes, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get some sort of fix there. But it's not also that, like, Siegfried Line is a particularly... Assault is particularly defensive favored either, you know. That was kind of fortunate as well. Offense does have a lot of... It's quite easy to win on offense as well. It's just, you know, the nature of the game at the moment. But you can see, I mean, 13-0, it's difficult, but you can see how much damage I have done despite it being a bit of a team wipe. We're just over 5 minutes into the battle. Don't forget this assault, so it's a 10-minute battle, which is why, you know, otherwise it would have been 10 minutes. But yeah, you can see 14-0, and it's going to be 15-0 unless the artillery can kill someone. So, but T57 DPM allowed me to get a lot of shots off and punish a lot of people, so yeah, I got this artillery, but that's pretty much it for this battle. And obviously, you know, 15-0, it's quite difficult to get damage, but despite being on a very low amount of hit points, the T57 still farmed very well. So here we have Sand River on assault, and as you can see, I'm on defense, which is fantastic because defense is super imbalanced. It is incredibly broken. You can win so easily and farm tons of damage. But for some reason, they haven't changed this map to fix it, even though it's been like this for quite some time. Yeah, it's a little problematic. I don't know whether either you move the cap around or you do something else, but something has to change because it's really unfair on the attack, who it's almost impossible to win on attack unless the defense is really dumb. So, yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm going to take as much advantage out of it as I can. I'm not really sure what reason Wargaming has for taking so long to tweak maps and change little things about maps, but, you know, they take a really long time with maps, so I don't really know why that is, but nonetheless, you just have to take what's given to you, and this is very advantageous for me. So I'm gonna go into the middle here because it's a really broken spot, and I can get lots of assisted damage via spots, as well as of course getting lots of normal damage. So it's an excellent position. It's pretty already safe. I mean, as a T57, I'm not particularly tall anyway, so I'm not in as much danger as a tall tank. Say maybe a 50B would be a little bit more in danger, although the 50B is faster, so it can escape much quicker than the T57. But the 1390 let me. I know there's probably going to be TDs waiting on those dunes ready to shoot me after those 1390 lights, and possibly the GW Tiger. Don't think the Bachelorette is quite loaded just yet. So I don't want to take that risk, and there's a 1-2-1 here who is completely exposed. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the road wheel like I intended there, but nonetheless I'll still get 3 shots of damage, leaving him on 1 HP, of course. But it's okay, lots of damage. The 1-2-1, not sure. I mean, he had no support in that position. You can't take that kind of aggressive play on your own. Maybe in a 3-man platoon, but even then it's really risky. You can see how many tanks I have swarmed around this general area. Really, really risky. But again, like I said, I mean, there's not much you can do on the attack. It really is not very fun. But I'm going to go back into the middle because it's time to have a poke and see what I can see. Usually you basically pick up tank destroyers or heavies or mediums that are still dawdling around in their base, not sure what to do with themselves because the map is so bad. And as you can see here, Yak Panther 2, easy peasy farm. I actually don't have optics or anything like that on the T57. It's just very easy to spot these tanks. Just going to have a look here, see if I can get this guy, but T57 accuracy, not really enough to shoot at there. But you can see I'm already beginning to get a little bit of assisted damage from the things I spot. Basically, your guys on the dunes are able to shoot there. You can see just how far my render does go, so it's just about good enough for people over there to also get render. You see that's the artillery's first attempt, but because of how the slope on this hill works, the arc is actually quite difficult for artillery to hit. Now, of course, artillery or RNG gods and will hit you anyway, despite anything, but yeah. So I'm just having a look to see if I can get the JP100's lower plate with that kind of position, but unfortunately, while I believed that he wasn't going to be able to hit me because, you know, JP100 accuracy isn't very good and I wasn't going to expose very much, he still managed to just about sneak a shot into the top part of my turret there. Kind of sucks to lose those kind of hit points, but it's not the end of the world. It does just suck. Perhaps much too risky. But this is the other part of the hill. You can also shoot tanks that go over here. Now, of course, they can fire back on you, but your position is much more secure. And of course, it's their job to push, not yours. So, yeah, you can see the JP100 just about caught my turret. Very, very top of it. So I would actually love to see his replay just to see exactly what he hit in terms of what he could see, but oh well. Anyway, so 1390 still doing his spots, but it doesn't make a great deal of difference as far as I'm concerned. I just have to stay around the middle area. Now, I could go over to where my Tiger 2 is and help over there, but it means abandoning in the middle, and we actually don't have anything over here. I mean, there's that Patriot tank, but he's sort of in the buildings, not actually over there. Try to hit the 1390 there. Obviously unsuccessful, kind of sucks, but it was worth a shot, I guess. Try and get rid of the 1390, or at least stop him from spotting. But yeah, this guy's just now coming over here, but yeah, I don't really have much of a reason to go over and deal with the other riverbed area where the Tiger 2 sort of is leaning so far. There isn't really any guaranteed damage shots over there, which is generally the only reason I would go over there, is if it was guaranteed that I would be able to get something out of that position. The one thing you do kind of need to keep in mind, though, is obviously you don't want to keep your gun inactive for long periods of time, which is why the 57 thrives so much on brawling maps, is because there's targets all the time. Close quarter combat, you can just play around support tanks and fight distracted tanks and get your clip off before they can do anything. But on maps like these, it can be sometimes difficult, but at least I am on this defense, so I do have spots like this where I can farm JP100s that come out unsuspectingly. Some sweet, sweet revenge there on the JP100. Unfortunately, I'm clipping, but like I said, get some nice assisted damage. Unfortunately, I'm sharing that assisted with this the Patriot tank, but that's okay. You can see we have complete control over the north. The T49 is beginning to move in, and to be honest with you, the enemy tanks are beginning to dwindle quite rapidly. We have lost some of our own guys, but we're not really under any real threat. There's only 4.5 minutes left in the game, and we're still relatively okay. We have plenty of health left among our tanks. They don't have a great deal left they can actually do any real pushing with, so game is pretty much wrapped up, and what's important here is to try and get some shots on some things. So I noticed that guy over there, but then the JP100 once again, but unfortunately for me, T57 accuracy, I only get one shot worth of damage there, but I see the JP100 begins to back up, which means he's not going to have any kind of accuracy. So I was willing to take the risk again, he wasn't going to be able to shoot me there, because obviously a backing up JP100 means he's going to have quite a large bloom on his gun. But yeah, at this point I'm looking around and I'm thinking there is not a lot of enemies left. I need to get in there and keep my gun active. So yeah, it can be difficult on more open maps where you have to do a lot of driving. The 57, it is very, very slow in comparison to obviously the 50B and even the Kranwagen. Much quicker tanks really, and it is nice to have the speed to flex around the map to get your gun back active. You know, the DPM isn't so useful if you're not able to actually get to the enemy team. The 1390 there, you know, I actually thought he was going to burn out, but then he put the fire out, which means he has a manual extinguisher. And I just want to reiterate, if there's any of you guys left still using manual extinguishers, please don't. You should always use an automatic fire extinguisher. You know, people say, oh, well, I can use a macro that'll put it out instantly, or I can bind it to an easy key that I can use to put it out instantly. But you forget, of course, that the auto extinguisher has a default chance to protect you from fire. So it is important to use an auto extinguisher. Now, a little bit of farm on the Udis, which is really, really nice. Never really understand TD players, man. They, you know, this is attack, and they're just like chilling there in the back of the base, not helping his teammates until his team is all dead. But hey, you get some shots at the end of battle when it really doesn't make a difference, you know. Wasn't loaded for the GW Tiger there, but at the very least I got the assisted damage. Wasn't able to hit that guy either, but that's okay. Got some more assisted from him once again. I wasn't actually sure where this bat shot already was, but then I see him as I cross eventually, and unfortunately for me I bounced because bat shot already have tons of armor. But I'm left on 1 HP, so, you know, pretty good. But yeah, it's a very good damage game, and, you know, also very, very good with assisted as well. So here you can see I am on Arctic region next, and I'm actually platooned with Brett. He's in his sheriff account playing on a bat chat. And Arctic region is a map that can be pretty good actually for farming, especially if you get on this side. This spawn I typically prefer when fighting down in the sort of southeast area there. In that kind of position is usually pretty preferable due to the fact that you're less vulnerable to artillery, whereas if you're in the top right spawn and you go there, you're kind of much more vulnerable to this spawn's artillery. So yeah, this is pretty favorable. We have plenty of heavy tanks, so I'm pretty confident that we can brawl down there and fight. Now, Brett does say he's going to go from initial lights. The problem is the T57 is so slow and the gun is so inaccurate that I probably won't get much from those spots. Whereas the 50B, I might take him up on the offer to get some initial damage, but he should be able to cross them coming into the north anyway. Yeah, but it's from these kind of positions I would have to be really fast over to where our Swedish tank destroyer is, ready for some shots. My other option really is to be with Brett and get some initial damage from that position, but that's not really that good either. But there is potential for me to get some of these tanks in render, just not enough to get the ones as they cross. But fortunately for me, this C49 is quite happy to offer me some damage. Fortunately, not the last hit there, but otherwise still pretty good. But yeah, you can see that this position is nice, but the render doesn't quite reach the crossing where Brett initially lights them going over into the north area. Quite a heavy brawl though going on in this area, and originally I was gonna, you know, fight down here, but then I look at it and I think, damn, we are very, very significantly outgunned in this position. I'm gonna go over and try and help, but there's no way I could get back into that defilade area. They have so many tanks. I mean, we already lost to 183, you know, who wants to sit in that little rock position. TD players. But yeah, so I'm not exactly confident, but slightly unlucky there on the 704, but I did at least get one shot worth of damage. I'm just gonna have a poke and just see if there's anything I can do here, but they have so many tanks. A little unlucky, I guess, as well on the E100. Not to get his side turret there, but you know, T57 accuracy is T57 accuracy at the end of the day. So we do have some tanks over here, but really quite badly outgunned. And also, they have a random Type 4 heavy YOLOing this way. I don't know why. This is a thing that this Type 4 thinks he can get away with. But he's like, yo, I'm a Type 4 heavy. I'm gonna go flank people. So, you know, to be honest, in the T57, this is kind of a godsend for farm. So I'm just going to try and farm him for much as I can. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get the angle on that turret cheek that I wanted, so it bounced. But 3 out of 4 is pretty good. I'm going to make it to the rock just so that the Type 4 can't shoot me. He's way too slow to pursue me. But I feel a bit bad for our E100, but the E100 doesn't have a great deal of situational awareness here in order to notice that the Type 4 heavy is there. If he had noticed the Type 4 heavy, he would turn around and dealt with him, but unfortunately, he was a little bit oblivious to where the Type 4 heavy was. So, just going to try and deal with this Type 4 real quick. Get the rest of the damage I need to kill him. There, that's how lethal the T57 can be, up close and personal. Gets those shots out pretty quickly. 2-second interclip is very, very fast. But we are sort of beginning to lose these guys over here. We also don't have control over the northern flank either, which is not exactly ideal. So what I'm doing now is, you notice my tanks just died like simultaneously there. Moving back up to this ridge line here so that I can sort of deal with their positioning if they try to push. One advantage I do still have with me is the fact that it is very, very difficult to move out of that south. And that's a pretty nice shot, actually, on the T49 to get the kill there, because that would have been really bad if he had escaped. But yeah, it's really, really difficult for their side once they've won that low ground area and that position down in the south there to actually push out of it. Kranwagen was able to get my track there, and I'm not going to let them get another shot on me. And I also know that there's no way I'm going to pen that tank unless he comes out of that little hidey hole. So yeah, I'm going to chillax right here because, you know, if they want to push, they can push. But I have a lot of firepower in my tank and also the tanks behind me. So the thing that does worry me the most, which is why you'll see me look around there a lot, is the bat shot. That's the thing that concerns me most, if the bat shot tries to come and shoot me in the back. Just doing a quick spot there just so my artillery has something to shoot at. Fortunately, they're not quite able to make that arc shot there, but at least they are being lit. The T30 sort of suicided, don't really know why. But obviously in this position, we're not exactly in the most ideal of matchups. We don't have a lot of tanks left compared to them. They have a lot more firepower. But here is T57 accuracy at its best. Just kidding. It's terrible. Okay, you guys want to hear a joke? T57 accuracy. That's the joke. Anyways, yeah, I'm just going to do a spot just to see. You have to periodically spot them, because if you don't, then, you know, they could sneak up and be right in your face before you're ready for it. But, yeah, Batshot is getting absolutely wrecked. Brett is dealing with that just fine, and artillery as well. So Batshot will be dead soon. Fortunately by my hand, because he kind of got flushed out by Brett there. But I'm just going to have a look, see if I can get rid of this IS-7. Should be pretty easy. And this is exactly what I mean about trying to push from their side, because once you win that flank, there's nowhere to go. There's just all this open terrain. It's probably not good map design. There should be a little bit more shielding. I always prefer maps that have sort of checkpoints, you know, where there are points where you can be punished for moving, but not these super wide open spaces. I mean, these guys won this flank, and they're basically being punished by poor map design because they can't push past this area. So yeah, it's kind of sucky for them, but for me, it's really nice. I bounced the T30, but the T30 also shot back at me, which means I have an opportunity here to go for the VK without the T30's interference. You know, I bounced the back of the VK, which really sucks because the T57 sent the shot into his turret, which was like sort of angled. Really unlucky there, but I should be able to clip without taking too much more damage. You should be going down soon. Unfortunately for me, it take a bit more than I wanted to because the E100 came around as well. But I'm almost reloaded, but Brett is actually able to take the shot anyway. If you were watching, I was trying to actually allow Brett to take the shot, but he wasn't able to get the angle, but he certainly got the angle in the end, so unfortunately for me, I am still alive. E100 AP snap onto a T57 without properly aiming and taking his time means that I get a fortunate bounce there at the end. You can see the damage is pretty good. There's no assisted in this game, but the damage is pretty good itself. So overall, a pretty good game. And I'm not going to say I played it perfectly because I didn't really, but what's important is to recognize when your team is sort of overmatched in an area and when you need to like withdraw yourself and reset the fight from a more safe position. If you always try to fight from the same position and don't try to retreat or notice when you need to retreat, you can lose out on a lot of damage and a potential win just because you just didn't notice when you needed to retreat. So I really wanted to kill this arty this game because I was really having problems with artillery. I haven't shown you guys all these replays. I was having a lot of problems with artillery, so, you know, I really wanted to kill this guy. But, yeah, unfortunately, artillery said he didn't have a shot anyway, so lots of damage at the end in this game. So it was a pretty good one. So next up we have Siegfried Line, but this time it's on standard, not assault. And this is actually the replay I was talking about that was from a different session. I was streaming, I think it was 1 or 2 days before I actually 3-marked the tank, and it was not a very good session in the T57, to be honest with you. I was quite frustrated. It was only 3,000 something damage. So I was going to go to bed, but you know, I figured I'd play one more battle, and it turned out to be a pretty good battle. It was a nice, comfortable farm game, and it was just really enjoyable because that's where the 57 really thrives in this kind of matchmaker. You know, Siegfried Line, very close quarter combat in the city. There isn't a great deal of the map that you actually use. In fact, to be honest with you, probably only use about a sixth of this map, which is a little frustrating, but that's a whole nother topic about wargaming's map design choices. But nonetheless, anyway, it's very close quarter when the T57 really does do well in these kind of situations, really puts that DPM to the test, and you don't have to worry about a lack of accuracy or a lack of speed because everything is very close to you, and you don't have to worry about it too much. So I'm going to go to my usual favorite position over here, which typically opens up the map and does allow you to get early shots as well as an ability to move. But because I was actually tilted and tired when I started this match still, I didn't notice a batshot 25 TAP, you know, so a lack of situational awareness there. Little bad on my part, but at least, you know, when you look at medium tanks, they hit you and you take a little bit of damage there. It's not like the end of your battle. It really does suck, though, if you make those kind of mistakes against a tank destroyer, because it's so punishing for one little mistake. But nonetheless, batshot 25 TAP knew that I would retaliate in kind, and he didn't want to take those trades. However, he then does this, and I just don't get it. I mean, what goes through someone's mind? I mean, to be honest with you, I don't get the position anyway. I don't see what strategic use that building has for him. I'm not sure why he's there, but then to poke against the T57 like that, it blows my mind. I don't know. I try to rationalize these things that I just can't. I just don't understand. But yeah, nonetheless, so far it's going okay. And now, you know, I try to keep my gun as active as possible in the game, but you have to remember, as an autoloader, you don't have a permanent, you know, quick reload. You don't fire every 5 seconds like a Russian medium, or, you know, every 7, 8 seconds, whatever it happens to be. But you do have these nice stops in battles. Now, you can see I'm moving back to shoot the back of that E100, and that's because I actually thought I had AP loaded. Oops. Yeah, so I should have kept shooting. If I knew I had heat loaded, I actually would have gone for the turret after the track shot. But I thought I had AP loaded. Whoops. I was going for engine fire. But anyway, as I was saying, the T57, you know, you can wait while you're reloading like this and just come out for shots once again when you're done reloading. So these kind of pacey battles are fine because, you know, you don't want the action to be too fast. If you're chasing the damage too much, the T57 isn't going to do very well. But in these kind of games, it actually does really well because, you know, you have a nice little bit of downtime between your reloads. So really quite nice. What that M103 thought he was going to get from that, maybe he's really good buddies with the Batshot. I don't know. I don't understand. What these people, they confuse me. I just don't get it. But yeah, M103 just gifted me a lot of free damage. So, you know, thanks, I guess. And then me being terrible, I shoot the pole. So yeah, way to go, Anfield. Good shot, bro. But yeah, so far it's been pretty good farm though. M103, Batshot, and a bit of E100 as well. M103 goes down. I'm just gonna clip now because there's no immediate target that I can see. So I want to reload and be ready for the next potential target. Hopefully the E4 doesn't YOLO out, because that would really suck. Always sucks when you assume no one is gonna be that stupid to do something like that, and then you clip, and then they're like, oh, let's YOLO because I somehow know that Anfield has decided to reload in his T57. But fortunately for me, the E4 didn't do that. Although I get really unlucky here, because as I turn to go back this way, the E4 is like, yo, let me broadside across here. Feels bad, man. But that's okay. I'm loaded, and of course I am going to look for shots. You want to keep that gun in action all the time. Nice 113 here through the pillar. Was able to get his track out. Just going to shoot through there and go for lower plate. But unfortunately, that last shot didn't pen the lower plate. But at least I did get 3 out of 4, which is, you know, still a pretty good return on my investment there. So already up to 4k damage. There's still plenty of tanks left. Our team is the dominant team so far, but the battle's not over, so, you know, still plenty of time left to get lots more damage. And it's nice. Despite our team having quite a significant advantage already in this battle, we're not like rolling over them super fast. You know, we may have a kill advantage, or we may end up with a very high kill advantage, but the point is it's not a 3-minute battle, and I got really sick of 3-minute battles. No one has fun in 3-minute battles. Team wipes are certainly bad when they happen within 3 minutes. Didn't expect the E4 to be there, but he bounced because he didn't aim very well. T57 does get those nice bounces every now and then, so I'm going to wait to track this guy, but, you know, instead, Allahu Akbar, and he blows up, so, you know, I'll take it. It wasn't a lot of extra damage, you know. It's always nice to get those full HP ammo racks, but I guess wasn't quite that lucky, but was lucky enough to get an ammo rack. Now, that's a T54 snapping. Even though he shot heat, he didn't aim, so he didn't get the shot that he actually wanted there. T57 turret is nice when people don't aim at it. Otherwise, it sucks, basically, is how it sort of works. E100 fires, so it means I get some easy shots on the T57, or JP100, excuse me. Yeah, it's very difficult to record these because it's just non-stop talking, and sometimes it's not easy to find something to actually talk about in a particular moment. So yeah. I get a little jumbled in my head sometimes, but Skoda was able to shoot at me a couple times, but nothing too punishing, so I'm just going to reload and approach from a different angle. There are some tanks left over here, so I just want to kill them. We are winning 10-1 so far, but again, like I said, at least it's not a 3-minute battle, 4-minute battle. Those are the worst. You don't get to do anything in those kind of battles. Leopard is providing me with some shots, and, you know, I will gladly take that. You know, 2 shots on a Leopard, really nice. And there goes Warbander, free gold for that guy. Just gonna try and crest quick enough to get the Skoda, which unfortunately I will. Skoda shoots me, I guess, because the E5 maybe is really strong to be nice. But yeah, 9,000 damage, so a really, really fun farm game. And finally on to Cliff. Now this battle was actually played after the Arctic region games. You see I'm still in platoon with Brett. And yeah, I mean, it's really good matchmaker because there's no artillery. And no artillery on Cliff does at least make the map more fun and certainly more playable. Not a huge fan of some of the aspects of Cliff, but it's not too bad. One of my biggest pet peeves is the 1-2 line, because sometimes you have your team just sit down there, give up the high ground, and the game is over before it's already begun. That can be quite frustrating. Also, the donut can kind of defeat the middle control, and it's very powerful if the mediums on the enemy team control that and yours don't. So there are a lot of risks that come to Cliff, and it can be very difficult to push past the lighthouse even if you win that flank. Kind of similar to how the Arctic region, in the sense that the enemy team, or at least the enemy team position I was facing, they can't really push past that area. Cliff has the same sort of issues there. Now this guy is going for that, and yeah, rip. Yeah, pretty much rip. But a nice early shot at least, and I'm gonna force a clip immediately because T57 reloads really fast, and I can get those 4 shots back pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna look for shots through the middle here. There aren't a great deal of enemy tanks that I have to actually worry about other than the Scorpion. Sometimes you have like a Grill 15 that'll sit back at like A6 or whatever and farm you, and that can kind of suck. But yeah, Scorpion there immediately in the camping position, ready to punish any aggression. So I guess on the balance of things, it's an okay trade to do that damage to the M103. Does suck to take the damage though. I was just holding my shots just in case that Patriot was going to poke, but he doesn't seem to want to poke, and I'm I'm pretty confident I can reload now, so I'm gonna move over. You can see our 1-2-1 has just suicided, and I think if I remember, because this is I think I have this match as a highlight on the stream. You guys can check it out if you want. But Brett's like, I can't even help this guy. What is he doing? And yeah, 1-2-1's just suicides. I don't know why. So Brett's like, I'm out of here. But I'm gonna go to this building, this barn sort of thing here, just to see if they're gonna push. I have an E100 there, which is pretty good. So kind of confident that we can hold that position. Now you see this Crown Falcon is just about exposed enough. I'm just about able to get the track, and I'm letting Brett know that that's my track, you know, because of course I'm going to get assisted via tracks if damage is done there. So yeah, nice bit of extra damage as well as assisted, so that's always nice. You should always go for road wheel shots on tanks and things like that. I suppose if you were going for a mark, you could forgo damage and just shoot a normal track out if you knew your allies were going to shoot. But typically I go for the road wheel through the side so I can get some track assist and also get some damage. And of course it keeps the enemy there for you to do more damage anyway, so a lot of positives there to being able to track someone from the front road wheel. But yeah, at this point I'm just sort of waiting for the enemy team to be a little bit more aggressive because I know they're going to, pretty much. So it's about being patient here because they definitely are going to push. Now you see the IS-4 is sort of getting ready to go around there. The enemy does have hill control, but it's not much of an issue for me. And Amarak once again, which is really nice. Yeah, really fortunate there that I was able to get the 57's Amarak there. Both the 57 and the E5 are very vulnerable to Amarak through the front. And I'm sure it'll be very nice for both these tanks, as well as obviously most tanks, when reusable consumables come in, because yeah, getting Amarak is not very fun, and specifically when you're in an auto-loader, it's not very fun whatsoever. But nonetheless, you know, 57 is dead. The E5 and the IS-4 took a little bit of damage, so I'm going to slowly sort of hug the side of this cliff here, see if I can find any damage. Now, the E100 that's with me is actually incredibly passive this game. Like, really, really passive. And I found it to be very, very annoying, and he basically was happy for me to take all the damage in this game, and it's very frustrating because E100 has much better armor than me, has much more hit points than me, and has a much more potent alpha gun to prevent them from really poking too hard. But instead he sort of hides behind me in this oh-ho, and yeah, found it a little bit frustrating, to be honest with you. He wasn't super helpful. Nonetheless, I've still got lots of targets. I've done quite a lot of damage. I think the mark is at like 90, you know, I don't remember. I think it was at 94 point something. But yeah, I took a lot of damage there, and I look around and I'm like, oh, that's why I took all that damage, because the E100 isn't over here. And unfortunately for me, IS-4 is never going to allow me to get away. So, you know, 50B gets away here, but T57 far too slow. Yeah. Fortunately, I got an extra shot, but yeah, IS-4 was like, I'm going to wreck you. But yeah, unfortunately, the E100 just didn't want to really help. Now, I understand that he wants to protect his tank. I totally get that, but he has to understand that he's the armor and the hit points here, and I'm the gun. And, you know, I mean, I guess I could have hid behind him, but, you know, when you're that far out, it's kind of not very ideal. You really want to be close to the cliff to be trading with these guys. You don't really want to be too far out because they can track expose you. Whereas if you're hugging the cliff, you can't be track exposed nearly as easily. The E100 is going to struggle here anyway if they decide to actually push correctly against him. IS-4 put heat into his turret and he's going to struggle a little bit. But, you know, 5,000 damage is still a very good game, and I got the assisted, so I'm fairly confident that I'm going to get the mark, but yeah. So this is pretty much it, guys. I mean, you can see here Brett, and we're kind of discussing, and I think I tell him that, you know, you should go in because the enemies are really weak, and they're going to basically have no hit points. You just might as well go in and clip them, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, the T57 was one of the most frustrating things I've ever 3-marked. You know, I did the IS-7, and a lot of you guys have actually watched that IS-7 video. It's like the second most viewed after the 62A. Now, the 62A replay highlight from stream was, I actually liked that one. I think, you know, it's a pretty good replay session, or stream session, excuse me. But the IS-7, I was so salty 3-marking that tank, and I was so tilted. So I don't really like that video, but this one, I was This tank tilted me way more than the IS-7 did. Yeah, it was frustrating, and it's so slow, and the gun is so poor now. You know, it's a shame really, because the T57 is a good tank still in its element, but you know, I don't see a reason they needed to nerf the crap out of the gun. You know, they said it was because they needed to make it different from the 50B, but it was already way slower, and it had DPM over the 50B, and it had heat instead of APCR. I mean, there were so many differences. They didn't need to rape the gun on this thing, but they did. So I'm pretty sure, to be honest with you, the Kranwagen is probably the second best tier 10 autoloader heavy, and the 50B is clearly way out ahead, excuse me, still, and the 57 unfortunately lags behind. But like I said, in its element, it is a very, very powerful tank. In fact, on my YouTube channel, I have quite a lot of replays of the 57 doing a lot of damage. That was Brett's last shot, by the way, and he's like, crap, I missed. But yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not particularly satisfied with the commentary, but it's very difficult sometimes to talk, especially with a slower tank, to constantly be talking and commentating. But I want you guys to see the whole replay and not just a cut down version. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And before I go, I'd also like to give a really big shout out to The Real Unprofessional for basically sponsoring the T57 third mark session grind by being like, yo, Anfield, here's a bunch of credits, go 3 mark the T57. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next video.